Hello, I'm Adam Winoker, CEO and founder of ABW Compliance Services. Now, there's a lot of talk in the news right now about queerness, queer people, a lot of back and forth, people taking sides. And I'd like to talk a little bit about how this relates to the drug and alcohol testing industry. So my relationship to queerness. So I am gay, as is my husband, and ABW Compliance Services is a certified LGBTQIA+ company, and we try as hard as we can to make sure that everybody feels included and treated fairly and equally whenever we go on site to do any kind of collection or any kind of work that we do when it comes to policies, making sure that they're applied equally across the board. And we also try to break down those stigmas that follow people who have substance use. And typically you'll find that people with substance use have already been ostracized by being part of some kind of minority, whether it be LGBT or BIPOC or neurodivergent. So in relation to queerness and in relation to LGBT, so like I said, I am a gay man and I am married, and I can tell you that there are certain situations which can be quite challenging in my industry. There's a couple of different types of tests which are quite sensitive. Specifically, the federally regulated testing that's conducted under an observed situation. So what that means is there are certain tests where you actually have to watch somebody provide a sample into a specimen cup. And when I say sample, I'm talking about urine. So we have someone who has to watch somebody provide it. It doesn't happen all the time. There's only specific tests that have to go that way. But as a queer individual, it becomes a little more complicated, both for the collector and for the donor. From the collector's perspective, from either perspective, the requirement states that you should be the same gender as the person who is providing the sample. So the collector and the donor should be the same gender, which obviously, in the way the world is working right now, this could be a bit of a challenge when you have someone who is non-binary and doesn't identify as one gender or another. The federal agencies have been very, very hesitant to give any kind of guidance in this area, probably for the better part of the last 14 years or so. And I've gone to conferences where this question keeps coming up. And you'll find snickers and people laughing and giggling from their own comfort out in the audience. And you find the people who are providing this information jumping or skirting the issue. One of the most exciting things that just came out about 2 months ago is the new regulation where they have approved for federal testing the use federal testing in the Department of Transportation, the use of oral swab testing, and the requirement to use oral swab testing when somebody is transgender, somebody falls into that category, or is non-binary, so that we can avoid having the uncomfortable situation of having to do a direct observation test using urine. Now, this will probably take at least a year before we have the technology and the equipment and the materials to put this into place. But I think that this is a huge step forward, that not only do they give the option to the employer to do tests like this with an oral swab, which is basically a Q-tip that's put in your mouth to take the saliva and test that. It's a lot less invasive, but they've made it a requirement. So this is the first time, and I'm pretty excited about it, that I've been able to see the word transgender or non-binary in a government regulation attached to drug and alcohol testing. I'm really excited where this piece is going. Just to circle back, I will say that donors or people who we are testing, if somebody does fall on one of those spectrums or feels less than someone who is LGBT, they are more susceptible to having struggles at work and having struggles that people try to self-medicate with substances, drugs, alcohol, what have you, in unsafe amounts. So I've seen more people who fall into minority groups end up in follow-up programs, end up in treatment programs, just because of the way they're treated in a regular work environment. And this is something, as someone who's in a minority group, someone who is gay and is LGBT, I don't like to see members of my community have to deal with that and struggle. So breaking down stigmas would benefit everybody, including people who I'm closest with.